Hello, guys. Welcome to my live. So we're doing another refugee appeal process live tonight. Just so everybody knows, we're also live on YouTube. So hello, all YouTube friends. So we're going to go live tonight again, and we're going to be talking about the refugee and the refugee appeal process. Hi, Dennis. Welcome. How are you? Yeah, so we're going to be going through both of those processes again. Generally, I like to have these lives at least, once a day during the week. So yeah, we're going to be covering your questions, any new updates, which there really hasn't been any yet. I think the biggest update coming is going to be Bill C-12. That's good to hear, Dennis. But and I'm good, thank you. I've just, been in the office all day, so it's coming at the end of my day. Just the several things, guys, to remember. Number one, nothing I say here is meant to be legal advice. And number two, please maintain your own confidentiality. This is a public forum. And three, please remember specific questions I will not be answering. I'll do my best. Okay. If it's general questions, I'm happy to help and happy to assist. But just specific questions kind of goes into a little bit of territory that I don't like to get into. So if you guys do have specific questions, I do invite you to book a consultation. You can book a consultation with me or somebody else. Totally fine. If I do charge for my consultations, but there are other consultants who don't. So, um, do as you like, really, at that point. So how I like to talk about my lives is that, I'll do a little bit of talking, and then I will also answer questions. Majority of it is going to be answering questions. To be really honest, I think at one point or another, especially when we get closer to like the middle of the live, I'm just going to be answering questions. But yeah, we that's kind of how we do it, and then we'll, keep it light, and just remember, it's not legal advice. That is it. How do I become a refugee? So that's a really good question. Um, there's two different types of refugees. There's a outside Canada refugee process, and then there is the inside Canada refugee or asylum process. I no longer do outside Canada processes anymore. I stick to in Canada process. And that is essentially, there's a whole process to it. You have to seek protection. You can do it at the port of entry. You can do it, once you're inside Canada. With Bill C-12 coming up soon, it will look a little different if you're already in Canada. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. If like, I'm not sure. What do you mean? How do I become a refugee? To be honest. Do you think Bill C-12 will pass? Yes, I do think it will pass. I think it's just a matter of time. And I think the Liberals are going hard for it, to have this pass as soon as possible. I think it's a matter of time just because it kind of seems like one shape or another, conservatives, liberals both want to have something like this passed. Just exactly how it's going to look like, we don't know. But and if they both want it, then it's going to pass. But again, I don't know the answer for sure, to be honest. I don't know the future, if something will block it, so we'll see. Um, Give me 1 second. I'm just looking something up. Oh. Oh, damn. Sorry. My bad. So they had their second hearing. I swear I checked it on Friday and it wasn't there. But apparently they had their second hearing on the 5th. All right, cool. Yeah, so I missed that one. I'm telling you guys, I swear I checked it. It was not updated, I guess. but they had their second reading at the Senate on February 5th. Okay, so whoever will still be affected. Who? No, guys. Again, there's. I want. I know we talked a lot about the referral and the 1 year like stop kind of thing. Um, I know we are all worried about that. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the right words here. Um, it's not necessarily we need to just worry about that. If you've been referred, in that essence, you might be okay. But there are other parts of Bill C-12 that, if it passes, that might affect you. So I want us to kind of come back and remember that too. What was the hearing at the Senate? They just did another reading of the bill. Even though they said that they were going to thoroughly review it, but I guess they didn't thoroughly review it. Um, Sorry, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I didn't realize they had their second reading, but yeah, they did. Why are citizens to conduct interviews in citizenship application? Any view on this? Um, I don't do citizenship applications right at this moment, so I don't have a lot to say about that. I do apologize. Um, so yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm a little distracted because I have a lot to do. When it comes to, I didn't that hearing totally caught me off guard, so my brain is like everywhere right now. All right, I'm just taking a look at. Okay, there's no more questions. All right, so Bill C-12, if it passes, guys, just a few things I wanted to bring up. It's yes, if you've been in Canada longer than a year, if this bill passes and it comes into effect, you will. It can affect you very much so. Um, in the sense that like you will no longer be eligible to be referred to the Immigration Refugee Board. Um, so if you're not eligible to be referred, then you can't really make the claim. The other essence that is an issue here is there's so many little nuances with Bill C-12 too that once it comes into effect, and it most likely will, the way they're going really fast, it I covered a couple of these with my videos. For example, if you travel abroad, or God, what were some of the other ones? I can't even recall them right now. There's some other elements that could affect you. The additional powers that minister and IRCC officers are going to get, those will very much affect you. But the dates IRCC did state so far, and I don't know if there's been any changes, amendments. I haven't had time to take a look at yet. Yeah, as you guys know, I was caught off a little off guard right now. Um, but those you IRCC has said that like they're not intending to cancel asylum claims if the bill passes, because some of the powers is that they'll get additional powers and they can possibly cancel some sort of applications. Although there's some like safeguards around that too. I think some of the readings that they had put some sort of like, they had checks and balances with them. And when I say checks and balances, like, if you're canceling a policy or a applications or something, you need to have good reasoning and show it to the parliament, that kind of thing. Like, They're basically not just letting them do whatever the hell they want, essentially. I don't know if there's been any changes with the Senate so far. Um, but like we're seeing, guys, it's moving pretty fast. If you guys are thinking of asylum, needing to apply for asylum, do so immediately, as soon as possible, guys. It's no longer a joke. It was never a joke, but again, and this is only, guys, please remember, A, you have to be eligible, and B, keep in mind, don't just apply for a refugee just because. Apply for it if you need it. If it is your only way of seeking protection and you face real and genuine risk. There are so many ridiculous immigration influencers and consultants, even consultants and lawyers who, don't really care about the well-being of a file or a person. And they say, yeah, sure, why not apply for refugee, and then end of the day, that person didn't have good grounds and they get rejected, and then that person faces the consequences, guys. So it's really important that if you're seeking it, you really understand what you're facing, and talk to someone. I always say this: talk to someone who's very cautious about advising you to apply for sorry, so my mama's calling me. um, who's very cautious of telling you to apply for a refugee claim. I say this because you do need to be cautious. It's not a decision to take lightly. If you guys are followers of mine, you know that there is consequences if your refugee claim fails. Um, there's still legal avenues you can definitely go through to help you if that comes down to it. But end of the day, refugees should not be your first choice. That's all I can say. There's all even some immigration lawyers, because I was doing my CPD and I mentioned it earlier too. Some lawyers who say that they'd rather for the person to apply for an agency first, or the agency would be a better option for them than for a refugee claim. Not that they would apply for it first, no, not like that. Sorry, I misworded it. But he said it's better for them to apply for an agency rather than a refugee. Okay, now I'm going to go back to some questions here. Is it possible for IRC to give you a work permit without your BOC being submitted? Nope. No. Uh, First of all, be very careful with that, guys. You cannot, with Bill C-12 coming out, if you, even now, actually, if you're not providing full documentation, your claim could be considered abandoned, withdrawn, or whatever. So you need to send in a full application, answer all the questions. Some documentation or evidence you can't get on time. That's not the biggest issue because end of the day, you have 10 days before the hearing to submit application. But you should not be sending any type of refugee application without a BOC or a narrative. And no, they only give you a work permit if you're deemed eligible to be referred to the Immigration Refugee Board. So no, don't do that. But again, please remember, this is not legal advice. Do your own research if you have to. Get a consultation. But that's just something I have seen. But again, not legal advice. And I really have to preface that. You guys might get tired of me, but I cannot tell you how many times why I need to repeat this. There's someone yelling in my office. That's really concerning. All right, so we're going to move along. I want to ask you, my spouse did her medical exam December 29, and recently we received a pre-arrival, okay? When do you think they will ask her to bring passports for visa? Don't know, to be honest. I have no idea. I don't know which country you're applying from. I don't know your information. So again, these are case specific question, guys. I really cannot answer. Sorry, my boy's work status was denied because his English results didn't come in early. He was added it now, and now we wait. I really do hope they take a second look on. Okay, so unfortunately, James, I can't provide any type of answer for that either. Again, that those are really case specific questions, guys. I'm steering away from them. So if you need help, I would say book a consultation. I even have quick consultations too. But again, you could definitely find someone else if you want to ask these questions about too. All right. what are some important things we should remember as refugee claimants? Guys, I'm talking about refugee claims here, but you're more than welcome to ask me other questions. If it's general and I can answer it, still remembering that it's not legal advice, I can help and I can direct you in the right direction. But just remember, this is not meant to be legal advice. I failed my medical. Please will it affect my refugee claim? You can't fail a medical. Sorry. Again, not legal advice, but how would you fail a medical? Is there like something that they're concerned about that they would want to like maybe take a look at later on? Remember, a medical is not necessarily, um, or generally speaking, is not a grounds for someone to not be able to obtain refugee in Canada, right? There are other programs where there is medical inadmissibility, but refugee claimants, um, you do have to notify them that if there's a serious medical issue, but it's not necessarily that it would cost you your claim. And actually, sometimes it can even be argued in certain refugee applications that if someone is not able to obtain some sort of medical, like, I don't know how to say it, like medicine, or like they're being targeted at a group. Generally, the group I'm talking about in historically that has happened to is individuals who have the HIV status, and who are being targeted because of that. Because there are some certain countries and certain situations that does happen to, that could be grounds for risk as well. Um, I've never actually done a case like that. I'll be really frank. The immigration lawyer that I was listening to, because we have to do certain CPD hours, he was actually talking about it, and I thought it was really interesting that it does happen, and it could be grounds. But again, he was just talking about it slightly. But yes, if they have concerns about it, I've had experience in that situation where I've had someone who IRCC was concerned about. Was the refugee claim rejected? No, it was not rejected. Actually, there was. Oh my god, I totally forgot about that person. Actually, the claim was successful, but there were concerns, yes, and they told this person to follow up um, on their, like, continue to follow up with IRCC and their medical examinations or whatever. You know, so it happens, guys. But it's not. Oh my god, I really need to turn off my notifications when I'm doing lives. Like I get these notifications, and I want to go look into it. I need to turn them off. It's really distracting. But I have restrictions on my work. Oh yes, that does happen. Yes. That definitely can happen. You might not be able to work with vulnerable people or children. So very much possible. Yeah. Um, yeah. That's essentially. Sorry, that's essentially it. And unfortunately, that's not even just for anyone who is a refugee claiming gets a work permit. That's for anyone who gets a work permit. Period. Right. For example, this also happens for students if they get a co-op or if they get a work permit. Uh, oh, sorry, guys, my neck is killing me. That's why I'm trying to like get it to move around a little bit. But yes, it's very much possible. I would say if you're concerned about it, speak with your counsel if you have one, and see what the issues was. Will the Bill C-12 affect old refugee claimants? What do you? There are elements that it can, yes, especially if you have an ongoing file. Yeah, definitely. We gotta, guys, I would really encourage you to stop thinking about it in a sense of like the bill C-12 is just for anyone who can't be referred to IRB. There is so much more into this bill, and I invite you to go read up on it. That can very much affect you. Yes, very possible. How long does a humanitarian compassionate take? Last I checked, and I don't know if this is up to date, 10 years. I'm hoping that's not the case and it will change or lower or whatever, but that's the last time I checked. To be honest, I haven't checked in a long time. How long does humanitarian and compassionate take? Oh yeah, that I already answered that one. How long does it take to get a work permit when you're a PR in process? What kind of PR? I I have no idea, guys. What kind of PR, what kind of work permit, and where are you applying from? Guys, I would really invite you to take a look at the IRCC processing time um, database that we have online. That's really helpful. It provides an estimate, sometimes it's not accurate, but an estimate of the processing time. Can I invite my parents as a protected person? As long as they're eligible, yes. Will they be accepted? Likelihood is very little. Um, Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's if they're eligible and it's possible. The problem is that that IRCC may look at them because you're related to them and whatnot, that they would possibly come to Canada and seek protection too. It does happen. It does prejudice, not prejudice in that sense, but it does prejudice a case. And unfortunately, it's very much possible. And thank you to, sorry, Nami, I think, who gave me a gift. I appreciate it, guys. I really do. But don't worry, it's not necessary. If the biggest gift you guys can give me is sharing this live and liking and following me, that's like the biggest gift you guys can give me. How long does it take for federal court to respond to a judicial review? Lila, I can't really answer that one because I'm an immigration consultant, not a lawyer. So unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that one. If anybody two-time refugee hearing was canceled, what does that mean? Your refugee claim hearing can actually be canceled for several different reasons. Sometimes it's just for overbooking or they go over another hearing. Honestly, it just depends. Why? I'm not sure. I've never really had a situation where clients hearing was canceled, but did they provide you any explanation? I'm not sure, really honest in those situations, but it could be for a number of different reasons. And I would invite you to maybe communicate with your counsel or communicate with IRB itself and see why and when. I don't know if they would actually give you a why, to be really honest. Perhaps they will not provide that information. My PGWP was refused in recruiting solution two. What should I do? Um, I don't, Genius, I'm sorry, I can't really answer that question. That is a case specific question, and you should be seeking legal advice for that. Uh, um, you know, you can book it with me, you can book it with someone else, but I'm not going to be able to answer that question. How about inviting my parents as a PR holder, though, through Refugee? Again, I think with IRCC, just from something I've seen and experienced, it will be extremely difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. Again, it's very case specific too, but I would say in those situations, seek legal advice to see what your options are and how they could improve their. I don't know. Honestly, it'll be just difficult. Sounds there is an issue that Uh, there is any issue? Sorry, is there isn't any issue or there is an issue? It might not be an issue. It might just literally be just they overbooked. That's very much possible. Don't put it past them. Sometimes I've seen hearings take go over very much so. Like it happens. Hi Ghazal, welcome. Where can you renew your work permit as an asylum seeker and when should you do that? You can renew it online. And when should you? I don't know. Couple of months beforehand. Yeah, I'd say a couple of months beforehand. Obviously before your expiry date. Do not let it expire. But yeah, essentially a couple of months should be pretty good timing. But make sure you have all your documentation too, guys. Any So let's talk a little bit about Refugee Appeal Division. I think I don't talk enough about that. So the Refugee Appeal, guys, if you ever have your refugee claim rejected, there's multiple legal avenues. Appeal is one of them, unless you're not eligible. Keep in mind, you might not be eligible. Just because your refugee claim was rejected might not mean it does not mean, sorry, that you're automatically able to appeal, right? So if you're eligible and your claim was rejected, I invite you, not invite you, it might be in your interest to seek a refugee appeal division because, you know, members do get it wrong. It's not like they get things right all the time. Excuse me. Lisa, I'm sorry. This is not a consultation. I can't provide you that information. You can look online, and it's also very case specific. And I don't provide legal advice here, and that would merit as one. So you are welcome. The information is all online. You can take a look yourself. Um, but when I tell someone what type of documents they need, it's very case specific and I thoroughly reviewed their case. So unfortunately, I can't give that to you right now. You're welcome to book a consultation, but I do not provide legal advice over TikTok. I sponsored my husband, and everything is complete. He is in background check almost 16 months. Okay. We didn't get any response. Do you have any idea? No, unfortunately, I don't. I would say you can take a look at the processing time to see and see where your status is. If Canada visit visa is approved, can I travel after 2 years? I'm sorry, I'm not really understanding that question. Like your visitor visa was given to you 2 years ago? Again, guys, please keep your questions general. I'm not going to be able to answer your case specific questions. Again, if you need a case specific question answered, I have consultations for that, or you can find a representative who provides free ones. Um, so, yes, we were talking about Refugee Appeal Division. So, the refugee, and I was saying before that keep in mind, guys, the decision makers are human, right? Human errors happen, mistakes are made, and sometimes, certain things are not considered, certain biases are shown. That's why we have guidelines, right, in a refugee claim. But it does happen very much so that they make mistakes, and it just because you got a rejection does not mean that that's the end of it, to be really honest. Many people think, oh, this is it, this is the end of the road. It's not actually the case, and you could possibly three things can happen. Your case is dismissed, your case is approved, or it's sent back for redetermination. That's very much possible too, right? So I, I think people think my refugee claim was rejected. I have no other hope. It's not the case at all. And I'm actually seeing more and more these days that, cases are shown, not more and more, but, we do see regularly that members made a mistake. Even at the RAD level, they made a mistake. And even when it's taken to the federal court, the appeal is allowed. Hi, Jumoke, welcome. Guys, Jumoke is also another wonderful RCIC here on TikTok. If you guys have any like questions or any referrals, like to like anything specifically immigration, she's also a really great contact or person to go to as well. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I know it's a Monday night, guys, and everyone's like, who wants to go listen to a live tonight? But I try to at least have these for anyone who needs them. Hi, good night. Question: what if you won't be able to appeal? What would your other options be? Generally speaking, some other options, and only if you're eligible, right? Because there are bars placed as well, unless you mean an exception. Pre-removal risk assessment, again, there's a bar, but if you mean an exception, H&C, there's also a 12-month bar, but if you mean an exception, um, what are some other options? Deferral of removal, stay of removal. Sometimes people have spousals, but that's very case specific, you know. And after spousal, they were able to obtain PR. Um, I'm just trying to think what other immigration routes, because a lot of like the PR routes kind of close, or you become ineligible again, one of the consequences of refugee claim is that you become ineligible, especially if your case is withdrawn, rejected, abandoned. So it becomes a little difficult, but there's still legal avenues. The biggest thing that a lot of people do is also try to appeal that decision, um, because again, there could be a mistake. How many days it takes to receive decision from judge? Uh, to see from a judge. It depends. Honestly, right now we're seeing more and more longer waits, but I think that's just because of the influx of cases. Um, I If you don't get a decision right there and then, I would say a couple of weeks. But that's like the estimate that I can give. Gross. Uh, what to do if you apply for PR under refugee 4 years ago, but yet to receive any portal? What do you mean any portal? Sorry, I'm not. I didn't really understand your question. Hi, I'm from Minnesota and I'm Somalian. Can you help me get into Canada? Um, if you apply the legal route, yes, I can. Like, if you want, I'm not sure your status there, but if you want to get a visa, study permit, or any other type of, even like a PR, yes. But again, these are very case specific questions, guys, and you would have to apply, get a consultation. PR portal. What to do if you apply for PR under refugee 4 years ago, but yet to receive any portal? Um, Now why did you not receive a portal? Was it because it didn't have a portal back then for the PR? No, even 4 years ago, I think there was a portal. I'm not really sure why you didn't, but I think if you applied by paper, it might be difficult. That's an IRCC question, to be honest. I have PR and overstayed my visa, so I'm worried about ICE. Oh, yeah, that could be an issue for you to come into Canada. Again, case specific question. So you should book a consultation to see what routes. It's very difficult because you've already been non-compliant. Again, a case specific question. So you should book a consultation with someone to help you with that. How do we contact you? So my link is actually in my bio. If you guys want to book a consultation through there, I'm happy to, assist further. I have four different type of consultation: emergency, um, sorry, my brain is like a little foggy. Emergency, refugee, quick consultation, and general consultation. So you can pick one of those. You can book it online, or if you want, you can send the e-transfer through my email, info@bsims, and I'll book you right in. Well, what are my chances? I can't really tell you. Sorry, I don't even know what your question was before. Give me a second. Oh, okay. Sorry. S- I can't answer your question to what are your chances because I know nothing about your case. Um, are there legal avenues? Possibly. But again, I know nothing to even, and I'm not going to give legal advice on TikTok, unfortunately. What's the cost of a consultation and can you prepare me for a hearing? My consultations are just generally, I mean, if you have questions about the hearing, yes, I can answer them. My refugee consultations are about an hour and it costs about $150. But so if you have questions about the hearing, I can assist. Yes. 2.5 years of no hearing, what steps to take? There are no steps. Unfortunately, it's just a matter of waiting at this point. Um, it's unfortunately it is, if you guys have a counsel, guys, and I think this is where you might ask them if there's any way, if there's anything they can do to contact them to see what's going on. Um, if they can send a letter in, but even then they might not even listen. So really just contact your counsel if you guys do have one, and see if there's anything that could be done. I have been waiting for refugee sponsorship 2020 August. What is your take on this? Uh, I'm not sure. What am I don't know. Just 1 year and having my hearing soon. Any advice? No. Guys, this is I know some of you guys might be newer and like just rolling in, but I really cannot give legal advice on TikTok. So I can answer general questions. I'm happy to do that. But no, if you guys want legal advice, that is a consultation. This is more an RCIC question. Do the lives help get consultations in your experience? Mm, yes and no. Um, I think the lives are a good way to get your name out there. My purpose is not, to be really honest, my purpose is not to get consultations. It's not necessarily that. My purpose is to build a community. If my community trusts me and they book a consultation, that's great. Um, that's wonderful. But my objective is to have a group, create credibility online, create a presence, and that's why I do my lives. It's not for me to get. I mean, getting the word out there does lead to generate more sales and more income for a bit small business, yes. Uh, but that's not my objective. And I don't portray it as such. I try to answer questions, talk to people, and build a following and, build a credibility in a way online, if that makes sense. um, and I guess the more presence you have, and not just online, I think just in general, the more presence you have, the more consultation you could have. And I believe Dr. Effenbest, are you on RCIC? I think you are. I don't. Sorry, I'm not sure, but from I recall, you might be. But that's yeah, that's my take on it. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. It helped. It's a yes and no kind of situation. I just Also, I like social media. I do it in all different parts of my job. I do it for school. I do it for everything. So I like social media, and it helps create a presence and trust with your community. So I hope that was helpful. What else should we talk about, guys? Just thinking here. My head's a little foggy. I'm not gonna lie. I was caught off a little off guard with Bill C-12 today, so my mind is just going back to that, and it's created a lot of tasks for me that I have to do. And on top of that, I'm a student, so I think some of you guys already know I'm doing my master's right now. So um, I'm a little overwhelmed, if you can't tell. Have you worked with Somalians from the USA? I cannot say I have. No. So no, unfortunately, I have not. Any other pathways apart from hearing for a refugee? What sense can I ask? Like pathways to permanent residency, pathway to seek protection. It kind of just depends what you're exactly. Uh, um, it kind of just depends on that. Um, I'm a refugee, got delayed for more than 5 years without an explanation. What is your like? You applied for it? Is that what's happening? And you've been waiting. I hear refugee sponsorships take many, many years. Many, many years, unfortunately. Yes, Kingstar, I am located in Toronto. My office is in downtown Toronto. But again, I work all over Canada. Yes, help me. I should stick to my marketing on LinkedIn. Thank you, though. No problem. Sorry, I didn't have too much information on that. Uh, I'm doing a spousal sponsorship. My open work permit just approved. Is that a good sign? Sorry, guys, I have to sneeze. Uh, I can't say just based on your open work permit being approved if that's a good sign or not, unfortunately. And honestly, I can't even say if it's a good sign or not because again, you're not my client. I don't know your case. And IRC can decide something different totally too. Wait, what's the update on Bill C-12 today? They had their second reading on February 5th, so last week. So that's what's that's what's on my mind today. But we still have a lot of other steps to go forward with Bill C-12, guys. They're they're thinking that it's gonna come into effect in spring. Why does PA eligibility take longer than sponsor eligibility? Sorry, what's a PA? I just what's a PA? I'm just sometimes, guys. I'm sorry, I don't recall the acronyms, so that could just be a Banoosh thing. Ah, principal applicant. Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely a Banoosh thing. Why does principal applicant eligibility take longer than sponsor eligibility? And then that's a that's a really good question. Why does that happen? I honestly, I don't, Lauren, I can take a look into that. I'm honestly, I don't really have an answer for you, and I don't want to just, give a random answer. So that's one of those things I'll take a look into. If you want to come back on another live, I'm gonna have another one tomorrow, and maybe have an answer for you if I recall, or you want to send me a DM, be like, "Hey, Banush, you want to take a look into that?" And I might have an answer for you tomorrow. All right, guys, I'm actually going to leave it here tonight. It's been lovely talking to you guys as always. You guys, I really enjoy talking to you guys. It's my followers, new followers. Welcome. I'm Banush. I specialize in immigration refugee board cases. That's refugees. I think I'm more well known for refugee, but I do other ones like detention review, inadmissibility, removal orders. So if you want to follow me for those, make sure you follow me. And if you need a consultation or if you need assistance at all, please book a consultation. I'm happy to assist. And I do apologize. I'm very limited to what I can answer on live because, again, I have to protect myself too. I can't just be answering everything and giving legal advice when I don't know anything about your case, or you know, there's also the confidentiality element too. So that in that case, guys, I hope you understand and I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'll check you guys tomorrow if you want to come back for refugee. And I think we're going to focus a little bit more on Bill C-12. So if you have questions about that, come back at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Bye for now, everyone.